My daughter called me a tight-fisted miser in public, using my life's sacrifice as a joke to get applause. She had no idea that my cheap accounting was the secret source of 95% of her entire multi-million-dollar charity budget. I didn't say a word. I just walked home. And within the hour, I cut off every single dollar. 2 days later, her organization was bankrupt. What happened next was rather unexpected. I will tell you everything. First, if you enjoy stories like this, you want to be part of the 10% of our viewers who click on the like button. This really makes us happy. If you're yet to subscribe to our channel, kindly support us today by subscribing to this channel. This helps us to bring you more beautiful stories. It will be great to tell us where you're watching us from in the comments section. Now, let's get into the details of the story.
I can still hear the clapping. It's been 3 days, and the sound of 500 people applauding my own humiliation is still ringing in my ears. My daughter, Jessica, has always been talented. She is charismatic, driven, and radiant. When she walks into a room, the lights seem to get brighter. When I walk into a room, people check their watches. That's the dynamic. It always has been. I am the background noise. She is the melody. Last Saturday was the gala for her nonprofit, The Open Hand. It was a black tie affair. I wore my tuxedo, the one I bought in 1998. It's a little tight around the shoulders now, and the lapels are out of style, but the fabric is good. Why replace what still functions? That is my philosophy. It is a philosophy that my wife, Martha, hates, and it is a philosophy that my daughter apparently despises. I sat at table 42, near the kitchen. I didn't mind. I like watching the waiters work. There's an efficiency to it. I was sipping tap water because I refused to pay $12 for sparkling, and I was proud. I was proud of her. Then came the speech. She held that crystal award like a weapon. She cried. She thanked her team. And then she looked right at the back of the room, right at table 42. The spotlight swung around and hit me, blinding me. I smiled. I raised my hand. She said, "This award proves that determination beats inherited wealth." She paused for effect. Then she said, "My father is back there, a retired office accountant, a man who counts pennies, a man who once grounded me for losing a library book because of the 50-cent fine." The crowd laughed, a ripple of amusement at the cheap old man. She continued, "He always discouraged me from this work. He told me charity was a bottomless pit. He thinks helping others is a waste of resources, but his stinginess, it lit a fire in me. I learned to give because I grew up with a man who only knew how to take." They gave her a standing ovation. My wife clapped the loudest. She looked at me, not with love, but with that familiar pity. "See," her eyes said, "even she knows what you are." I felt a physical blow to my chest. Not anger, not yet. It was grief, because they didn't know. Neither of them knew. Let's correct the record. I am an accountant, yes, but I didn't just count pennies. For 30 years, I was a forensic auditor for major corporate mergers. I found money where others saw nothing. I found fraud. I found value. I lived below my means not because I am a miser, but because I am terrified of insecurity. I drove a 2005 sedan so my daughter could go to a private university debt-free. I clipped coupons so my wife could have the renovation she wanted. But I never told them the why. I just told them no when the expense was frivolous. I became the villain to ensure they could be the heroes of their own lives. And the money grew. Shrewd investments, tech startups in the 90s, real estate in the crash of '08. I am not comfortable, listeners. I am wealthy. Quietly, vastly wealthy. When Jessica started The Open Hand 5 years ago, she was drowning. She had passion, but she had no business sense. She was 3 months away from bankruptcy. She came to me for a loan. I reviewed her business plan. It was a disaster. I told her, "Jessica, this model is not sustainable. You need to cut overhead." She screamed at me. She called me a dream killer. She stormed out. But I couldn't watch her fail. I couldn't. So I created the Aurora Foundation, a shell entity, a blind trust. I appointed a lawyer as the face, and I sat as the sole anonymous trustee. For 5 years, the Aurora Foundation has funded 95% of her operating budget. The salary she pays herself, my money. The office with the view, my money. The gala where she mocked me, I paid for the catering. I paid for the Crystal Award she held in her hand while she assassinated my character. I did it anonymously because I wanted her to have the victory. If I had given her the check directly, she would have felt small. She would have felt like Daddy's little girl. I wanted her to feel like a titan. And it worked. Too well. She started believing her own myth. She believed she was a miracle worker who could conjure money out of thin air, unaware that the air was being pumped into the room by the father she despised. Back to the gala. The applause died down. The dinner was served. I couldn't eat. I looked at my wife, Martha. I waited for her to squeeze my hand, to say, "That was unfair." Instead, she leaned in and whispered, "You have to admit, Arthur, you make it easy for her. Maybe next time try not to look like a beggar." That was the moment. That was the snap. It wasn't a rage. It was clarity. In accounting, when an asset becomes a liability, you divest. When a venture yields only negative returns, you cut your losses. My family had become a toxic asset. I didn't make a scene. I didn't flip the table. I waited till we got home. I waited till Martha went to sleep, complaining about how my old suit ruined the photos. I went to my study. I sat at my desk, the cheap laminate desk they both hate. I opened my laptop. I logged into the secure portal for the Aurora Foundation. I looked at the scheduled wire transfer, $350,000 due on Monday morning. It was for their quarterly operating costs. Without it, they couldn't make payroll. I typed an email to her board chair, a man named Marcus. Marcus is a nice man. He thinks Aurora is a mysterious European conglomerate. I wrote, "Directives from the trustee. Effective immediately, all grant cycles regarding the open hand are terminated. All future disbursements are canceled. The foundation is pivoting its philanthropic strategy. This decision is final. Do not reply." I hovered over the send button. I thought about my daughter's face. I thought about the good work the nonprofit actually does. They help at-risk youth. It is good work. But I realized something. I was enabling a lie. I was funding a narcissist who was using charity to feed her own ego while starving her father of dignity. I clicked send.
Sunday was quiet. But Monday was the storm. I was drinking my coffee, the cheap instant kind, when Jessica called. She wasn't screaming yet. She was hyperventilating. "Dad," she gasped, "it's gone. It's all gone." I played dumb. "What is gone, Jessica?" "Aurora, the foundation. They dropped us. No warning, no explanation, just an email. Marcus is puking in the bathroom. We have rent due in 3 days. We have vendors to pay for the gala. Dad, we're insolvent." I took a sip of coffee. "That is unfortunate," I said. "Perhaps you can find other donors. You are very persuasive." "You don't understand," she shrieked. "They were the donors. They were everything. Why would they do this?" She paused, and then the accusation came. "Did you put that energy out there? Did you manifest this? I told you your negativity was poison." She blamed my vibes for the loss of a multi-million-dollar endowment. Even in the face of ruin, I was the scapegoat. My wife, Martha, got on the line. "Arthur, send her money. Dip into your retirement. Sell the house if you have to. You can't let her fail." "I cannot help," I said calmly. "I am just a penny pincher. I don't have the capacity to save an organization of that magnitude." They hung up on me. By Tuesday, the staff was being laid off. By Wednesday, yesterday, Jessica came to the house. She looked like she hadn't slept. Her designer makeup was smeared. She stormed into my living room, Martha trailing behind her like an angry ghost. She stood there, in the house I paid for, screaming at me. "You're happy about this," she yelled. "You always wanted me to fail because you're a small, sad man who hates that I dreamed big." Martha chimed in. "He's jealous, Jessica. He's always been jealous of your heart." I stood up. I walked to my safe. I spun the dial. Left, right, left. The click was the loudest sound in the room. I took out a single red folder. I placed it on the coffee table between us. "Read it," I said. Jessica snatched it up. She opened it. I watched her eyes scan the lines. I watched the confusion turn to shock, and the shock turned to horror. It was the tax return for the Aurora Foundation. Trustee, Arthur J. Sterling. She froze. She looked at me. Her mouth open, struggling to process the data. "You?" she whispered. "You are Aurora?" "For 5 years," I said. My voice didn't shake. "Every salary check you cashed, every flight you took, that grant you accepted on stage while you called me a miser? I signed the approval for that grant on Friday morning." Martha grabbed the paper. She sat down hard on the sofa. "Oh my God, Arthur, millions. You have millions?" "I had millions. I gave them to her, until she told the world that my support was worthless." Jessica started to cry. Real tears this time, not the stage tears. "Dad, I didn't mean it. It was just a speech. It was just a narrative. You know I love you. Please, you have to turn it back on. You can't destroy me." I looked at her. I looked at the daughter I had carried on my shoulders, the daughter I had protected from every harsh wind. "I didn't destroy you, Jessica. I built you, and you used the bricks to throw at my head." "Please," she begged. "We'll lose everything." I walked to the door. "You said in your speech that determination beats inherited wealth. I am giving you the opportunity to prove it." I left the room. That was yesterday. Martha moved into the guest room last night. She says she can't sleep next to a monster. She says I am cruel. Perhaps I am. Or perhaps I just finally decided to balance the books. Jessica is calling me right now. My phone is buzzing on the table. Buzz, buzz. She is sending texts, apologies, begging, promises of a public retraction. I won't answer. I transferred the remaining assets of the Aurora Foundation this morning. The Animal Welfare League will be very surprised when they check their account tomorrow morning. The house is quiet. I'm drinking a cup of tea. I paid 12 cents for the tea bag. It tastes delicious. I will not fund my own execution. I will not subsidize my own disrespect. The ledger is closed.
Jessica didn't stop calling. Not yesterday, not today. It's almost noon now, and I've counted 37 missed calls, 16 voicemails, and a small novel's worth of text messages. At some point, desperation shifts tone. It stops being loud. It becomes quiet. And that's where she is now, the quiet phase. At around 10 this morning, the doorbell rang. I expected Jessica. Instead, it was Marcus, the board chair. He looked smaller than I remembered. Or maybe he'd always been that size, but Jessica's glow had made everyone around her seem larger, brighter, more confident. "Arthur, may I come in?" I stepped aside. He walked in with the guilty shuffle of a man about to confess to a crime he didn't commit but feels responsible for anyway. He cleared his throat. "I owe you an apology." "For what?" "For believing the story," he said. She painted you as this controlling, cold father. I thought Aurora was some European corporation that didn't care if a charity collapsed. I didn't imagine it was me." "Yes," he whispered. He sat down on the sofa, the same sofa where my wife cried last night. He rubbed his temples. "I don't know what to do, Arthur. The staff, they're blaming me. The donors think something illegal happened. I've spent the entire morning putting out fires." "That's unfortunate," I said. He nodded slowly. "You know the worst part? She still won't tell them the truth. Not the staff, not the board. She says if she admits Aurora was you, it will change her brand. Her brand, Arthur." I felt that old, familiar pinch behind my ribs, the one that always comes right before disappointment. Not shock, just disappointment. Marcus continued. "I thought you should know. She's rewriting the narrative." Of course she was. Jessica has never accepted gravity. When the world pulls her down, she tells the world it's wrong. I walked him to the door. He hesitated. "Arthur, do you want to stay involved quietly, maybe? I can—" "No," I said. "Let her build something without me propping up the foundation." He didn't argue. He just nodded and left. After he left, I sat at the kitchen table. Martha's coffee mug was still in the sink, lipstick on the rim. She didn't say goodbye before heading out. She's staying at her sister's tonight to clear her head. Translation: to complain about the husband who finally stopped playing the role she wrote for him. I wasn't lonely. I should have been, but I wasn't. There was a knock at the door again. Smaller. Softer. I opened it. It was Jessica. No makeup, hair unbrushed. The last time I saw her like this, she was 16 and had failed her driving test. "Dad," she whispered. Not angry, not performative, just tired. She stood there, holding something behind her back. At first I thought it was a bag, or documents. No, it was a cardboard box. She held it out to me. "These are yours." Inside were 5 framed awards, all of them mine, ones I thought she'd thrown away years ago when she moved out. The plaques I won during my career, the ones she used to mock, Dad's little trophies, she called them. She displayed none of them in her home, but here they were. She placed the box at my feet. "I'm shutting down the open hand, for good." I simply said, "All right." "I know you won't help," she said, voice trembling. "I'm not here to ask. I'm here to—" She swallowed. "To tell you I'm starting over." I studied her face, the girl who blamed me for everything. The woman who believed applause was oxygen, the person who used charity as a mirror. Starting over? She'd never done that in her life. "Jessica," I said quietly, "what does starting over mean to you?" She wiped her eyes. "It means no staff, no galas, no office with a view, no image. Just me, volunteering, actually doing the work, not performing it." That caught me off guard. She continued, "I know you won't help. I'm not here to ask. I'm here to—" She swallowed. "Ask for time." I raised my eyebrow. "Time?" "Yes." She stepped closer. "Just have dinner with me. Once a week. No speeches, no lectures, no judgment. And if eventually you want to talk, if you want to explain why you live the way you did, I'll listen." Silence. The kind of silence that weighs 50 pounds. She added, "You don't owe me a yes. I just didn't want the last word between us to be a gala insult." I didn't answer her, not yet. The wound was too fresh. The ledger wasn't balanced. But something in her tone, the rawness, told me this wasn't a performance. For the first time in years, she wasn't trying to win. She was trying to understand. "I'll think about it." She nodded. No tears, no begging, just acceptance. She turned and walked down the path, shoulders slumped, but steps steady. Now I'm sitting in my study again. The red folder is back in the safe. The box of awards is on the floor next to me. The house is still quiet. But something is shifting. Not forgiveness, not yet. But the first movement of something new, something unfamiliar. A life where I'm not financing lies, shaping illusions, or absorbing blame. A life where, for the first time, Jessica might actually see me. The phone buzzes once. Not a call, a text. From an unknown number. The message is short. "Mr. Sterling, we need to talk. It's about the Aurora Foundation. Urgent." I stare at it, and for the first time in days, I feel something unexpected. Curiosity.
Jessica came back one last time. No entourage, no makeup, no trembling theatrics. Just a quiet knock at the door on Friday evening. I opened it and found her standing there, holding nothing but a folder. My folder. She didn't step inside. She didn't ask to. She just looked at me with eyes that were finally, painfully human. "Dad?" she said, voice small. "I'm not here to ask for money." I waited. I met with the board. They're shutting everything down. The office lease is gone. The staff found work elsewhere. She swallowed. I took responsibility. Publicly. That surprised me. She pulled out a folded printout, a statement, her statement. In it, she admitted that the organization had been funded by an anonymous benefactor for years. She admitted she misrepresented her independence. She admitted that in her quest for praise, she built a fantasy and let pride drive her into delusion. She apologized to donors, to her staff, and to her family. She didn't name me. She kept the mask on the benefactor. She didn't try to save herself by exposing me. For the first time in her life, she protected someone other than herself. She handed the paper to me. "I can rebuild. On my own this time. It'll take years, but I need to learn who I am without shortcuts." She exhaled. "I came to say thank you for everything you did. And I'm sorry. Not for the consequences, for the harm."
There were tears, but quiet ones, real ones. No audience, no applause. Then she said something I never expected to hear. If you ever want to talk again, not as a donor or a critic, just as my dad, call me. I'll pick up. She turned to leave, then paused. I know why you hid the money. I know you were trying to protect me from depending on you. I get it now. I'm going to earn my own weight. She walked down the steps and didn't look back again. Martha left 2 days later, packed her things, and followed Jessica. No yelling, no accusations, just defeat. She realized her loyalty had always leaned toward applause, not family. We both knew it was over long before the gala. The house is silent now, peacefully silent. I sit at my desk, the laminate one they mocked, and I close the red folder for the last time. Not out of anger, out of completion. The phone buzzes occasionally. Reporters, board members, neighbors. I ignore them all. I brew another cup of my 12-cent tea and step outside. The evening air is cool, honest. For the first time in decades, I'm not financing anyone's illusion, the foundation under their feet. I am simply myself. The man who built quietly, the man who loved quietly, the man who was finally heard quietly. And that is enough.
And that is the end of the story. The ledger is finally balanced, and the silence in my home is honest. But I want to hear from you. Do you think I was right to protect my own dignity by destroying my daughter's false image? Or should a parent always fund their child's dreams, no matter the cost? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.